Hi everyone, it's Becky here from Ivy's Corner. I am back to do another video where I am showing you how I have constructed the string for Zentangle Project Pack 26. Many of you will have seen my previous videos on this. Many of you will have heard of the Zentangle project packs. The Zentangle project packs can be purchased online from Zentangle HQ. If you are in the USA, it's quite easy to do that. If you're outside of the USA, it's a little bit trickier to get hold of sometimes. So they can be a little bit more expensive. The minimum order quantity is quite high on Zentangle HQ. And so the Zentangle team themselves always say that you can just feel free to tangle along with whatever equipment you have to hand at home if you're not able to buy the project pack. The project pack contains all the tiles and tools that you need to follow along with the lessons that are provided for free on YouTube. Now, myself, I do love to buy a project pack if I can, but on this occasion I haven't been able to get hold of one. So I needed to create the strings myself for this project, particularly because the project pack itself is so focused around the concept of strings in Zentangle. Now, this is a fundamental part of the Zentangle method. We create strings to kind of define the space in which we can begin to tangle and create our artwork. We can ignore the strings if we want to, but they can also provide us inspiration to create something amazing. And that's what we're exploring in this project pack. Now, I obviously, as I mentioned, didn't have the project pack on this occasion. I will pop a link in the description for where you can buy the Zentangle project pack if you want to. But for this project pack, I have been creating the strings myself. I uploaded some videos of me completing the various project packs as I went along, and some people were asking how I went about creating those strings and suggested that it might be handy to have a video detailing how I went about doing that. So that's what I'm doing for you today. So let's get to it. I'm going to change my camera, so I'm now down here. Let's just make sure it's all refocused and you can see my screen nice and clearly. So here is my tile. I've got my Zentangle tile here. I've got some tools here, and this is my tile divider. So this is the tool that I use to help me create my strings. Now, my tile divider is something that I've created based on the Marcus Operandus from Zentangle HQ, but it covers lots of different tiles. Every tile currently available from Zentangle, apart from the large Opus tile, because it just wouldn't fit on the paper. And this is a great tool for using to divide up your tiles if you need to kind of have a more defined space or equal spaces on your tiles. And you can see that it covers all the different tiles here. This is a little bit busy, so I'm going to just hop on over to my Zentangle page here. And you can follow these different lines around the outside to help you to divide your space up as you need to. So let's go ahead and I will show you how I went about creating the string for Zentangle Project Pack 26 and day number 7. So this was a lovely lesson from Maria, where Maria tangled this beautiful tile. And the string itself is a really interesting one. It's quite different to the other ones, I would say, in the project pack. It's got lots of kind of angular spaces, and it was really a really fun one to work on. So I'm going to recreate that string now, and I'll show you how I went about doing that. So I've placed my tile onto my template here, so it's lined up in that central circle that's the Zentangle shape. And this particular tile, to create the string for this one, I have marked off 12 sections around the outside. So you can see here I've got the numbers almost like the clock face, with 1 here and 12 at the top. And so I'm just going to go ahead and mark with pencil where each of those lines, or each of those numbers, touches the Zentangle edges. And this is going to form the basis to help me divide up my tile. Now, I found this probably one of the more challenging strings to recreate when I was coming through my project pack. So there are my 12 section markers. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you. There we go. And I'll refocus the camera. So here is my lovely 12 divided up string. Now there's nothing wrong with using rulers or compasses to help you create your string, but I tend to prefer to kind of do things a little bit more freehand. I just feel like it's a bit more in the Zentangle spirit of no mistakes. But I am going to use a bit of a guideline. So I'm using this micron to help me kind of roughly mark out where the centre of my circle is. So I'm going to line up with this bottom one and the top one. I don't even always need to use this central marker, but sometimes it's just nice to have a little idea of where the centre is roughly. So I'm just lining up these points opposite each other. And as long as you've got 2 points, you can kind of roughly work out where the centre is. That's all I'm using the micron for, just a bit of a line. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to number these points just because it's easier to show you where I'm headed. You don't have to do this. There we go. So there are my 12 numbers on my Zentangle. And what I want to do is I want to kind of start joining them together to help create my string. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is just create a border around the outside. So this particular string does have a border. The official string does have a border. So I'm going to just sketch, and it's quite nice to have all these different points because you can use them to help you roughly meter out where your border is going to go. Now again, none of my lines are going to be particularly straight or particularly accurately circular or curved, and that's not really the point. When you come to tangle on these tiles, your string lines disappear anyway, and as long as they're roughly the right shape, it all just adds to the character of your work, I think. I'm just using the heel of my hand to kind of get a natural curve, and I'm holding my pencil on an angle so it's not pressing down too hard into the paper. So you can see there, it's like a clock, doesn't it? There's my my string with my border, and I'm going to use my points now to create kind of a triangle shape. So I'm going to come from this line, let's go from number 1. I'm going to go from, where am I going to go from now? I'm going to go from, which one? Let's go from number 3. I'm going to come from line number 3 to line number 7, I believe. Let me just have a check. Yes, that's right. So I'm going to roughly just lightly draw this line from 3 to 7, like so. And then I'm going to turn my tile and go from 7 to 11. So I'm ending up with kind of like what we want to end up with is like an arrow shape, like so. So that's kind of one base point of our string here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is from point 7, which is the bottom of my kind of tile, I'm going to just draw a large orb that's going to bring me from 7 all the way up to that centre point. And if you've watched any of the other videos where I've been metering out the strings, you'll know that my sort of orbs or circles are not perfect by any stretch. And just sort of sketching these lines out softly and using the curve of your, like the natural curve from the heel of your hand, can help you just to sketch them out, and then you can kind of, once you've done so, you can kind of adjust them if necessary. So I want to bring this one in a little bit more, maybe out a little bit more on this side, and in a little bit more on this side. Like so. Now this is not going to be perfect, as I've said, but really nothing is, especially with the Zentangle method. It's not about perfection, it's just about creating some space. And I think the charm of a hand-drawn line is part of that experience of drawing Zentangle. So there's my rough kind of circle shape, and you can spend some time adjusting it should you wish. There you go. It's just, I've got this precision eraser here just to help me tidy some of these lines up, because otherwise I'd be a bit overwhelmed with lines. Okay, so there's my orb. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just kind of roughly mark maybe a quarter of the way from the centre point to this bottom, and I'm going to just draw another one. Like so. Within that first orb. There we go. So I've got 2 nestled orbs and some space in between. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another line from here to here. This is where I find this one a little bit complicated because I'm sort of making it up as I go along. I've got the string up on a different screen and I'm kind of trying to remember how I went about metering it out. I believe what I did next was I joined this top point here to this point down here with a sort of sketched out line. So I'm going to come from point 6 to point 1. And then from point 1 to point 8. Like so. So I've got kind of this triangular point here. And then I'm going to kind of roughly mark, I've got this line across here from where 11 and 3, where the base of this triangle is. I'm now going to draw another orb from the bottom here, number 7, all the way up to this point here. So the centre point of this line. So it's quite a large orb. And it's not going to be perfect, but you can adjust it if you want to. This is rather a complex string, I would say, compared to some of the others in this project pack. So hopefully this will prove useful to some people. And some of these lines are just going to get erased because the lines that are helping me to kind of formulate the string are not part of the actual string, if that makes sense. So here we have 3 orbs. We've got a little pointy triangle here. We've got a larger shaped triangle here. And I'm going to bring the point from each of my corners of this triangle here. So from 11 and number 3, I'm going to bring that down to this centre point here. So just sketching that line in like so. Now, there's an awful lot of lines going on here, so I think I'm going to just remove some to prevent confusion. The first one I'm going to get rid of is this crossing line here. The baseline of that triangle. We don't need that line any longer. And the next line I'm going to remove is going to be the line from point 8 to point 1 and point 1 to point 6, apart from this little triangle at the top here. So this section is going to disappear. I'm retaining the other lines for now. So all of that line, apart from this little triangle at the top, is going to disappear. And the reason I've joined it up all the way down is just to kind of make sure that my angles are roughly correct for both sides of that triangle. So I'm just erasing this one and this one here. So there we go. So now we've got a fewer lines to kind of help us along the way a little bit. Actually, the other one I'm going to erase is inside this orb. These triangles here overlay this orb on the outside. Lots of triangles and orbs. Very interesting string, this one. You might find that because there's quite a lot of graphite, your hand starts to smudge it, so just be aware that your tile might be getting a little bit like kind of dirty. Now the next thing I'm going to do is roughly, and you can see here that I've actually ended up slightly off centre, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to just divide this, a triangle up here to this point number 2 and another one here. So really they should be sort of an equilateral triangle, but that's not occurred for some reason on my tile. But I'm not too worried. I've got 2 more triangles here, and then I'm going to do 2 more triangles from this corner to here, and then that's going to come down roughly to point number 6, but I'm going to stop there. So from this point to number 10, and this one's going to come, that was point 8 over here, so roughly to point number 6 here. I hope this isn't too confusing. It's a little bit confusing string. And there's also one tiny, tiny little triangle here. So I'm going to just continue this line here and imagine that it was going to draw across to number 8, I think, like so. And then likewise over on number 9, I'm going to continue this line from 3, and imagine this was drawing across to number 6 here. And that is the basis of your string for day number 7 of Project Pack 26. Now this is a tricky string, so feel free to pause and rewind. I was kind of doing it a little bit on the fly because I couldn't remember exactly how I did it when I meted out the string. I'm going to just remove a few more little bits of string line here and there to match up with the official sort of template, and just tidy up some of these other lines as well. And I'm going to remove my numbers because we no longer need those, and they can be a little bit of a distraction. And then I'll just go back in and restate my any lines that are removed when I'm using this precision eraser. I'm going to remove these edge points as well. This is definitely a useful tool to have in your tool bag, this precision eraser. I don't generally erase things. I like to try and adhere to the Zentangle kind of method when it comes to no mistakes, but sometimes, especially with strings, it's quite handy to have this opportunity to be able to tweak things. But there we go. Right, let's just quickly restate a couple of these bits. It's not absolutely identical, and I think depending on your lines and the, you know, how free and easy you are with creating straight lines and orbs and stuff, it can, like everyone's templates will vary slightly, but as I've said before, I think that's part of the charm, and it means that no two artworks will be exactly the same. So there is my string for day 7 of Project Pack 26. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Please like and subscribe to my channel, like this video. I'm gonna be recording the next couple of videos for this little series for you very shortly, so look out for that. You can please do tag me on any artwork that you create if you post it on social media. I'm at ivies_corner_arts. You can also find me on the hashtag iviescorner. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you in the next video.